genuinely, I feel like I'm competing. This happens every time. And Hanman knows, like, when I'm competing, I am very, like, the whole time. I don't really talk. I don't really show feeling. I come in, I come out, I get the job done. Because I'm so hyper-focused on, like, competing. And, like, competing, the word, like, you're stepping up on stage against other people. And while you should be competing with yourself, and you absolutely will be competing with yourself, there's also this, like, game day attitude that you bring. And I think that's why I love the coaching process so much, is because I feel like it's that game day attitude amplified, because it's game day for 7 people, you know. So I feel like I want the weight of their pressure on my shoulders, you know. Like, I want them, look at them, they're just having fun, they're talking, they're vibing. Like, I want them there. I want to take all of the weight and all of the pressure and put it on my shoulders and just, like, not have them think, keep them calm. But I love that. I fucking love it, man. I absolutely love it. So when I say, like, the weight is 10x what it feels like when I'm competing, it is that. And because I'm so used to it, like, now that I'm back in this position, it's like, this is the headspace I love to be in. Like, this is my I'm gonna fuck shit up headspace. Like, this is the headspace and attitude that I want to bring to, like, every single day of life, of not only just in the gym for my own training, but for the clients, how I show up for clients, how I coach clients, you know, when I'm creating content, when I'm operating the business. Like, this is just the game day attitude, man, and it's amplified 10x, so it's like the best day of my fucking life.
It's like a fucking, it's like a guitar string, dude. It's fucking wild.
Honestly, prep, I already had a very, not a good, like, understanding, but I knew it would be tough. I just didn't know how high and how low things could be, because the prep that I did before and the prep that I'm doing right now are very different. There's a lot more allowance for me to have autonomy. So Chad's just pretty much given me a framework, a skeleton, if you will, and I can kind of run with it on my own. As long as I stick to the plan, I'm good. Whereas before it was very rigid, very strict. And I didn't know that I could have so much control over my own prep until I did this one with Chad. And the good stuff is I feel great after workouts. There are some lows where, you know, joints might hurt a little bit, but communication with Chad has been key, understanding how the body works, and he quickly responds back to what we can do to navigate that situation has helped those lows a little bit. One of the biggest things I would say is just fighting the voices in my head. Chad's just been like giving me some reassurance, making sure like, hey, this is totally normal and this is why that's normal. And he breaks it down so it's not like, hey, don't worry about it, and then you're like, you have no idea why. He really goes through and talks through what it is that you should and shouldn't be feeling, and if there are things that are deviating away from the path of success, he'll know how to kind of bring you back, and he just talks you through everything, which has been so good for me over the last 2 weeks, especially in the deep pits of a deficit. It just really sucks.
Okay, so prep for me, I would say it was a whole new experience because I've never really had to go through a fat loss phase. I've always been afraid of losing weight. So like, I didn't know how I would respond to that, of like seeing my weight go down when that's always been what I was running away from, and trying to not feel skinny or not feel small. It was really interesting, but I felt like I was so focused on the process that I never really felt anything. It was much different than what I was expecting. I was really just like, okay, this is what I need to do. Like, this is the process, this is what I do. And that's all I really focused on. In terms of like how I felt, it was definitely a grind. Like, there was a few weeks that you just take for granted, like the simple things in your life of having like energy and being able to do things, which I think is important. And I think we live in an era where everything is so easily accessible, everything is so convenient that you never really have to experience struggle. Like, you don't really have to experience working that hard to survive. Things are very automatic. And so to put yourself in that position gives you a much bigger appreciation for everything that you have. And it also is like, this is something that we're pushing ourselves for physically, but like we aren't our body. Like we are something deeper than that, and this is just a way to like fully express ourselves in a different way of seeing how far we can really truly push ourselves in an area that, you know, 99% of people are never going to do. So that's kind of the way that I look at it. And then again, just like having that support and, you know, being able to like say how I'm feeling and getting validated, like that's okay to feel that. This is what you should be feeling, really made it go like pretty smooth for me. I would say like I took in like, okay, this is going to be some suffering. This is going to be some times where I have to embrace it. But overall, I would say it was like a really solid experience, and I'm happy to be on the end of the tunnel now.
So actually part of it is when I won the transformation challenge, and I haven't told anybody this, I kind of took it as like a mock prep just to see like if that was something like I could do. And I told myself that if I won the transformation challenge that I would compete. And I think for a long time, like I kind of convinced myself that I didn't need to compete to prove myself, or like I already held myself to that standard, so like I didn't have to, but I really wanted to like actually do it, you know, like actually like push myself and challenge myself and go for it. Honestly, most of it wasn't that bad. Most of it was, you know, I think like I had put so much prep work into it beforehand that it was very similar to the standard that I hold myself to every day regardless. I mean, there were weeks where it got rough, like the past like month or so it was not easy. You know, food got low, energy was low. I was not always the nicest person. I think having people around me to really like support me through it, not just in Beyond Build, with like my family, my friends, my boyfriend, you know, like prep has really taught me like how much the people around me really are there for me. Being able to like distract myself, like go out, see some friends, like do whatever, get my mind off of it, helped a lot. Me even like a year ago would have been so nervous and like so scared to get up there, but like me today, I think because I put so much prep work into this and because I've worked so hard for it, like I'm so confident going into tomorrow because of that. But I'm stoked today. I cannot wait to get on stage tomorrow. Like I have put so much work into this. I've been working towards this for like such a long time. Like I can't wait to just like get up there and showcase that.
Prep has been fucking awesome. All in all, it's been fucking awesome. It's been a really big learning experience and just a lot of discipline has to go into it. And honestly, I feel like that's where I thrive. I felt like the harder it got, the better I felt. The lower my food got and the hungrier I felt, the more dialed in mentally I felt, the more cardio I had to do, the more dialed into the process I felt. So honestly, like the more I leaned into the process, the more it took over my life. Like, man, mentally, the more blissful I felt. And I just thrived under that strict level of discipline so fucking much that, yeah, it was really hard. And like, there were a lot of days and moments I had to battle with my inner bitch, but ultimately, like, I love having those battles, and those battles are what makes this journey so worth it. And at the end of the day, knowing that I won those battles and I went through all that hard shit, like coming here and stepping on stage tomorrow, this is just the cherry on top, really. It doesn't really feel like it's the ultimate goal. It feels like the ultimate goal has been accomplished. I mean, listen, like before even starting prep, was in a building phase for a really long time, and going through that building phase, having prep be almost like so far out, it's something that it didn't have like that power over me to really be disciplined. And there were a lot of times where that discipline slipped, and I considered like, man, is this even something I want to do? Like, is this even going to be worth it? Is this even for me? Like, I don't know if I fucking want to do this anymore. But ultimately, like, Chad was always there to help me find a solution. And in the past, like, for example, in my gaining phase, I would start to deal with bloating. I would start to struggle. It would start to get difficult, and I would end up falling off and rebounding and losing that weight. But with Chad, when those problems came up, like, they were still there, but he was there to help me like find solutions, figure it out, and to continue to push through. And so that really was super valuable, because I know on my own, I've done it before a bunch of times and I've always given into those challenges. So to have somebody that's always like there to be able to provide a solution and provide a game plan, whatever's going on, was super valuable. Yeah, and prep itself, again, like I said, like I really did thrive under that, like having that strict, almost like standard that I needed to uphold. Yeah, those battles were something that I feel like I just more did. Like, it wasn't something that I that really impacted the way that I showed up, as opposed to before when, it wasn't like I wasn't really on prep yet officially. And obviously to be able to step on stage at your best, you have to have like a very successful off season and be able to build a lot of muscle. And going through that process, it can be hard to stay really disciplined and stay really consistent without that goal coming up in a short time. So having Chad to just, again, like always help me find a solution was super valuable.
Not even necessarily prep, but even like going through the bulking phase, just going through everything. It was me always tracking, and then, what can Mason eat? Is there any? It's like, don't worry about me. I'll figure it out myself. Like, whether I got to bring food to whatever the occasion is or whatever we're doing, I will make sure I'm good. Because people always feel like they're kind of like, I don't want to make it harder on you. It's like going through high school, middle school with wrestling. It's like I learned that discipline, and then even through the service, like I have that instilled in me, so I'll figure it out myself. There was parts in the bulking phase, honestly, that was harder than the prep, to be honest, just with the fact of the amount I need. Going through the prep, though, it was easier. Vacation was a little harder, just because of the food choices that everyone, because it was like a family thing. So there's 30 of us in a house having the time of our life, and it's like, all right, what was prepared for dinner? Burgers, pastas. It's like, I can't really eat any of this. It's too fatty, it's too many carbs, whatever it was. But I learned to figure it out myself. I've always been a pretty independent person. It just came down to me figuring it out. And then honestly, the most recent difficult part was with my job at the university. In the fall, it's a big travel season. So always being on the road, trying to figure out what do I need to do, because I'll be in the car for maybe 6 hours a day going to and from wherever I'm going. So just making sure, am I standing, am I walking as much as I can where I'm going, but also I needed to stay on top of my eating schedule as best as I can. So trying to balance all of that was probably the hardest part on the prep. Physically, I always kind of reflected on what I've gone through in the past. Like I've gone to Ranger School for the service, and everyone was always telling me it's going to be physically and mentally draining with a little sleep, a little food, and it's just exhausting. Well, I think kind of the labor jobs I was doing at the time made the physical aspect a lot harder. I was used to being out in the heat, being outside all day long. So physically wasn't a problem. The sleep, horrible. Not eating, horrible. So it's like I've definitely had it worse when it came to the physical aspect. Mentally, my body, I'm not a big sweets person, but the last couple months, it's like just craving carbs. I just want bread or I want something sweet. And of course, with the time of this prep and the holidays, it's like, all right, I'm smelling cookies and fresh baked pies, and now it's Halloween and I'm seeing all this candy. It's like, I just want to eat it all, and it sucked.
So I think to start off with this prep, I think the biggest thing that comes to mind is I just wanted to become a better person. Like I just thoroughly wanted to reach a potential tap into a potential that I've never thought I have been capable of. And I think I've gotten like more than that. I think I've become a better brother. I've become a better son. I've become a better leader, a better coach. And I think it's not about stepping on a stage. It's never been about a trophy to me. It's been about like, how can I just show up as my best self and raise my standards and inspire at least like one person out there that might be like struggling like the past version of myself that was. And I think through this journey, it's just been like tackling one thing at a time and focusing on just being present in the moment. Because every single time where like before and leading up to this prep, it was like a horrible relationship with food, lying to myself, self-sabotaging, consistent for 5 months and then go off the deep end for 1 week or 2. So I think getting into this prep, it's taken these condensed, like, let's say 6 months, but it's actually been like a journey of these 3 years. 3 years in the making of like blood, sweat, and tears to get to this moment. And even then, and I've shared this, is like I wasn't perfect through this prep. Like, and I had to be honest with myself because I lied to myself a few times, or I went on a bachelor's trip and said, I'll get groceries when I get there, and then I don't have a car and I didn't Instacart, and then I fell and like ate popcorn and had some like shots of alcohol, right? And then I think having someone like Chad or having a coach, someone to like help support me, it's like, hey, like, let's be honest, like, you lost that day, and like, how does that feel? And I think it feels shitty. It feels like a wrench in my heart, but it's like a level of honesty and integrity that I've never felt before. And I think that's what like this journey has taught me is I used to self-sabotage and I would just like let it go. I would just go on with my life. Oh, it's no big deal. But like every little thing on prep matters. I think the radical responsibility and extreme ownership and like just being honest with myself has been condensed from like a month of self-sabotaging to a week of self-sabotaging to a day of self-sabotaging to a moment now where it's like, okay, I have some candy or something, and let's say I said I was going to track it, but then I purposely didn't, and then I'm not in congruence with my values. Instead of just brushing it off, I'm like, wait, like this is incongruent with who the fuck I am. And I think that kind of honesty is just something that I've never known, because now it's like I have those boundaries, I have those standards for myself, and that's going to carry with me like long after this bodybuilding prep and into future goals. So I think that's been the biggest definition of what this prep's meant to me, is I've just become a better person, and internally and externally.
Yeah, for prep, first time ever doing this. My last, I guess, diet was in the February of last year. It was pretty easy, for sure. I felt like it was going to be a breeze, right? It was a breeze for the most part, but it was during that later end, that bottom half of prep, that it really tested me. My girlfriend, she's witness to this, like the irritability, the stressful days when I just want everything right, but everything just goes to shit. The hunger, the fatigue, just the low energy. It was something that I haven't had it really experienced in a long time, because the only time I experienced this, I guess the fatigue, that kind of drain, that feeling of being drained, was when I had initially lost weight and I was ending days at 1,100 calories. That was the last time I felt something similar, right? And then now, doing it, but doing it sustainably, I guess kind of knowing that we're going to pull out of this, and with the game plan, knowing that if we're going to maintain this level, not conditioning, but like we're going to maintain this, eating more freaking food right now, more than I've ever eaten. Sitting in this chair, in this moment, I'm fucking tan. We're tan. We're doing the damn thing. It's actually coming to life, this whole thing. It was always just a thought 6 years ago, man. 6 years ago, it was just a thought. When I had first lost my 80 pounds and I was 132, I would hit up a NutriShop. The attendant there already knew me. I was always waiting on the InBody to get my body fat percentage. Every week, every Saturday, I'd fast just to go in, fasted, right? Weigh in. And I would see all these pictures of competitors on his wall, and I was like, dude, I want to compete, man. And he was like, you should. I think you could. But after that, I never really took action on that thought. 6 years later, we're in this freaking chair, man, about to actually do it tomorrow. And yeah, it's a surreal moment, man. It's empowering, because I have clients who look up to me, and they've told me that I inspire them. My parents are proud of me too. They're coming in actually tomorrow to go see me. It's a full circle moment for sure. And I couldn't be more than happy with the life I built and just how far I've come in life. A lot of opportunities have opened up because of that initial just change after that heart attack scare. And I haven't really talked about and the other scare I had, where I thought I had like uncontrolled hyperglycemia, right? I was eating a honey bun and my fingers were tingling. I was like, what the hell's going on? That was another scare as well, but the biggest one was that heart attack scare. And if I didn't take action then, I wouldn't be in this damn chair right now. So we're in it for the long haul, right? Because there is no deadline to my fitness journey. It's a lifestyle, man. And I love every second of every minute of every day of it. So